Welcome to Nasdaq Trade Talks. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq. Joining me for Singapore FinTech coverage is Connie Long, Regional Business Lead of Financial Services with Microsoft Asia to discuss empowering business resiliency and recovery in the financial services industry. Connie, it's great to see you again. Welcome back to Trade Talks virtually.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Nice to meet you again.
What has been the most significant changes that Microsoft has seen in working with customers in the financial services industry in 2020?
Well, I think COVID is really the biggest risk event for our industry. And particularly, we see an acceleration of digital transformation. When it comes to digital transformation, technology is really a key enabler. So from our perspective, we're really seeing three major significant changes. First, I would say in the earlier days, it's really about business continuity and very quickly pivoting to remote working. And I think in terms of technology adoption, we see quite a number of those collaboration tools which is being adopted, and also scalability and moving a lot of the resiliency and then workloads to the cloud for backup and recovery. The second thing is really pivoting to digital. I think digitalization is a key pillar, particularly when we wanted to have a differentiated customer engagement. So here we're talking about really an end-to-end digital journey, and also the rise of self-service because there's a higher demand for online services, and so automation and self-servicing. The third one is really around modernization, innovation, and scalability. I think there will be a lot of infrastructure, the core system that need to be really modernized to bring agility and timely market of products. So I would say broadly, these are the three main themes we're seeing in our industry right now.
And Connie, innovation is no longer just an option. What has the culture of innovation become critical for FSI organizations, resiliency, recovery?
Yeah, in the survey that we have done recently, what we have found is that digital transformation before COVID has always been a cultural transformation. But I think what COVID actually triggered is the mindset change. It's acceptance of change because we all need to pivot to remote working, like remote conversation and collaboration, what we're doing here. In the survey that we have done in terms of the FSI findings, as part of our culture of innovation study, we found that innovation is actually quite pivotal in the response. And interestingly, from the response of the FSI organizations, 6 in 10 basically, or even 86% of the FSI leaders have already accelerated the digital transformation, as what I was reflecting on the theme early on. And the other interesting thing is 70% of the FSI organizations thinking innovation is now a must and not an option. So I think that's really where we see the biggest change. And particularly for embarking on the innovation, I think most of our organizations already driving that, like 52% of the FSI organization in Asia Pacific has been finding it easier to innovate after COVID, and 61% out of the FSI leaders. So I would say in terms of the maturity also increased a lot. We have seen them already have a 12% point increase in ability to innovate after the COVID. So I think these are some of the key findings and kind of confirm that innovation is really no longer just an option, it's a must-have.
And Connie, I'd like to ask about technology as well. How is technology playing an integral role in accelerating business continuity, recovery, improving customer experiences, especially in the financial services industry, which is very close to all of us?
I think technology has always been an enabler for digital transformation. I think that is also before COVID, but so much more than in COVID world, because when we pivot to the remote working, I think the first thing is we have to work remotely, and tools is the only way that we can allow us and enable us to do that. So I would say in terms of technology, we see about some of the trends. One of them is the adoption of our own product and services, which is the collaboration tools from the modern workplace. So it is M365 and particularly Teams, where the FinTech Festival is running on Teams right now. And I think this is the collaboration tools, which is the #1 driver for the COVID. One of the examples is really Manulife. They have been enabling the customers and the employees to continue to collaborate and continue to conduct remote selling and remote working using our Microsoft Azure and Microsoft Teams. I would say the other one is really about high personalization of service when I talked about digitalization. So the other area is really using the, I would say, combination of Teams, Dynamics, and the data and AI. One example is really around Australia Bankwest. They have been using the Dynamics 365 to really embark on a self-service, so allowing the customer to book appointments with the bank very easily and streamlining that process. And I think that is really the second one. The third one, when I talked about modernization and really bringing innovation to the market, here we have two examples, like the National Australia Bank, where we've been signing a strategic partnership for 5 years to really help them to modernize the workloads to the cloud. The second one is around Standard Chartered, where they want to pivot to a cloud-first bank and really to drive and empower innovation using our Microsoft stack of data and Azure, in particular right now to empower 84,000 employees running on Teams to weather through the COVID. So I say all of that is really around the technology adoption, and this is really a key pillar to support continuity as well as innovation.
And it's one thing to adopt this kind of technology, but digital transformation goes beyond technology. It's also rooted in culture.
Yes. Yeah, I think the key thing is really the cultural part of the transformation, because technology is a key enabler, but driving change is the number one, I would say, success factor for the innovation. And as some of the factors, as I say, the survey also found that the innovation is really key for FSI leaders. The other thing is they also think that the digital services is quite important to drive that. So if you have that culture of change, you will be able to weather through the digitalization journey, because a lot of the manual process is not going to happen anymore. And you really need to have a mindset that allow you to fail fast and learn fast. And I think that is something that we have found in the implementation. And again, technology like collaboration, breaking down the silos, breaking down the barriers, and having data across the organization so that you can allow I would say anyone who's touching on the customers were able to use data to do a better service. I think that is something that is driving the behavioral change, the cultural change, and also how you engage with the customers as well. So those are all related to culture transformation within the organization.
And Connie, that's a great way to wrap up, because what are some of the best practices of technology adoption in Asia? And what are some of your recommendations? You don't want to just check off a box, but what are some of the best practical recommendations that you have?
Well, I think, as I say, I think innovation and technology has become a must-have in the pandemic. So technology adoption is the number one priority. And I think before COVID, it has always been a race. Whoever adopted technology faster and easier and smarter win the race. I think it's more so today. And in terms of technology, there's a whole lot of technology which is actually enabling. So I would say the three themes on technology is really around collaboration and around use of data and AI to be highly personalized to help you generate the new revenue model. And also on modernization is really to have an infrastructure that allow you to really embrace that innovation and agility, and also to be able to be compliant and meeting the regulation requirements, because we're living in a financial services world. So I think technology adoption. So I believe people with the right use of technology will help us weather through the pandemic and navigate to the new normal.
Connie, we appreciate the insight. Thanks for joining us on Trade Talks, and thanks for joining me. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq.